Hey there, Tasha here. First, let me start out by saying that this is not the episode I originally had planned for this week. I had an entire episode recorded, edited, and scheduled to hit your speakers, all queued up and ready to go. But honestly, it felt a little tone deaf given the recent events going on. The episode was all about grocery shopping for keto, but considering that the grocery stores are looking more and more depleted, they don't really look like they did last week or the week before, and I figured I'd shift gears to something more relevant to what's actually going on in the world and in your life. So I'll release the grocery shopping episode soon, and I think it'll be really helpful when the time comes. But for now, I'm holding off, okay? And today, I'm going to be talking about stress eating and emotional hunger cues. Now, I'd like to remind you all that psychological stress is based on your perception of thoughts, events, and all the things going on around you. And we can't control the things that are happening. We can't change what's going on, okay? We can't control it. The only thing that we can control is the way that we respond and react, okay? The perception and thoughts that we have drive our feelings, and that drives our actions. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're feeling anxious, panicked, or stressed because your life has recently been tossed upside down, remember that panicking and stressing isn't going to help or change things. It's not driving your positive behaviors. And I see this pattern quite a bit in general, where those underlying perceptions and thoughts drive negative feelings, and that leads to stress eating. So whatever is going on in your life right now, remember that this too shall pass. Don't let negative thoughts take over and drive your action. Don't let the events affecting you overwhelm your perception and outlook. I know it's hard, but stay positive, guys. I've decided to focus on stress eating specifically because that's a lot of people's realities right now. The kids might be home from school indefinitely. There's no toilet paper at the store. Your friends are getting sick, and maybe your job or business has been significantly impacted. I know it's hard not to stress. Trust me, I've been doing my fair share of it too. But my point is that it isn't helping you, okay? It isn't changing things. So all we can do is try to shift our thoughts around it. Instead of the loop of eating to relieve stress or provide comfort or distract you, the first step is just becoming aware of it all. And just a few weeks ago, I released an episode called How to Do Keto Without Tracking. And the focus of that episode was all about mindful eating. Now, more than ever, mindful eating is something that I really hope you all choose to embrace. And if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely check it out. It's episode 19. Developing an awareness for your body's actual hunger cues and tuning into the satiety as you eat is a great first step in combating stress eating. Now, mindful eating isn't just about eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. It also takes into consideration the context of your meals, okay? So it's not just the what and how much you ate, but why you're eating too. And if you work on building an awareness about why you're eating or around the why you're eating, you can start to address it head on. Because let's face it, there's a big difference between eating because your stomach's growling and eating as an escape. And you know, it's really not quite the same thing when you sit down at the dinner table to eat and snapping out of a food coma with your stomach stretched out and empty candy wrappers all around you. Just taking that first step to practice more mindful eating and identifying why you're eating is enough to set a lot of people up for success. Now, what are the signs that you're actually stress eating? If you have a sudden impulse or urge to eat, it might be emotionally driven instead of hunger driven, okay? Impulsive eating is a form of stress eating and emotional hunger. If you have a very specific craving for a certain type of food or meal, that may also be tied to stress eating because those food cravings link back to comfort food, and that may be a coping mechanism for stressful times. If you're eating and eating, even though you're no longer hungry, there's a good chance that that's stress related too. If you just aren't satisfied after a meal and continue searching for snacks and sugar and sweets, there's a good chance that isn't driven by your hunger. And if you feel guilty or ashamed after you've eaten, then that eating might have also been instigated from a deep-seated emotional connection. Okay, so those are some of the telltale clues of emotional hunger and stress eating. Now, if any of that sounds familiar to you, or it feels uncomfortable confronting it, or anything like that, then you might be wanting to know what you can do to stop it. How do you stop stress eating? And in a perfect world, I tell you to identify all of your triggers and remove the stressors. But I know what's going on right now. You can't magically put your kids back in school or show up to work when there isn't any, right? So instead, this is where that perception piece comes back into play. So identify all your big stressors at the moment and all the things that are triggering you the most right now, and work on the language that you're using when you discuss it. Even if that's just the voice in your head that's chatting it up. If you're not actually speaking about it openly, what about the voice in your head? What kind of words is the voice in your head using to talk about this stuff? And instead of using really negative language in your discussions or in your thoughts, avoid limiting language and beliefs about the stressors. Okay, stay positive. I know it sounds really simplistic, but when you reinforce those negative thought patterns with negative language, you get even more stuck. Okay, you are setting yourself up for self-sabotage. But when you shift the words that you use, you can reinforce your positive thought patterns, okay? See the silver lining. Try your best to see the bright side, even when it's really tough. Instead of thinking, now I'll never lose weight because my gym shut down, think, now is a great opportunity to learn some body weight exercises at home. No equipment needed, okay? See how that's the same exact scenario, but it's a different perspective, a different outlook. These minor shifts can really help you manage your stressful triggers when you can't eliminate them altogether. If you can't avoid the stressors, then the next best thing is to shift your perception about them. And when it's tough to shift your perception, then the next best thing is to learn to cope with your stressors in a healthier way. If your coping mechanism for stress is food related, like mindless eating or binging, then think of some other things that you could replace those behaviors with. Something that will actually benefit you and support your goals long term, okay? Think of a healthy form of stress relief or stress management that you could implement instead. There's so many amazing things to do instead. So don't just try to stop and bury the habit. Replace the bad behaviors with a good one. Manage your stress positively. There's breathing exercises that are incredibly effective. Meditation, yoga, walking, okay? Get creative. Do some art. Paint, journal, draw, take a hot shower or a bath, do some kind of relaxation or self-care, pamper yourself, give yourself a facial or a pedicure at home, okay? Watch a fun movie. Any kind of exercise will do the trick. And I know for a lot of you out there, that's also going to support your goals and what you're working towards in the long run, okay? So try to think positively. Think of something that's going to benefit you and support what you really want. Don't set yourself up for sabotage, okay? And of course, never, ever, ever underestimate the power of social support. Reach out to a friend or family member so you can chat with somebody, tell jokes. If you are feeling socially isolated, call somebody up on the phone, get on Facebook, reach out to people. Don't be a shut-in, okay? That is sad. It's so sad and lonely and depressing, and that's gonna make you feel even worse. So definitely healthy, keep your connections strong, make sure you have a strong social support group, and even if it's just to vent and express your frustrations with what's going on, don't disconnect yourself from everybody, okay? I know that things can feel really stressful right now, but I really hope you guys keep your head up and stay positive. Stay healthy and safe, and I will see you guys next.